Welcome back, everybody, and we are going to be continuing with the next episode of the Eminence of Shadow. And this one was actually mostly comedical, but also had a lot of plot-heavy points. First of all, we finally get to actually see Gamma do something. So the gist of it is these guys are trying to break into the Shogu Corporation, who is actually run by, obviously, Shadow Guard. They don't know this, though. While this is happening, Alpha wants to go ahead and send two people out there to take care of the mess, but Gamma's like, nah, I want to go stretch my legs. I want to go and take care of the action. I want parts. I want to show that I'm just as capable as everybody else and actually do something. Alpha is not trying to hear that. So once she hears this request, everybody just ignores her. Nu and Alpha completely heard her, but they pretend like they didn't, and Alpha then requests for Nu to go outside and deal with it again. But then Gamma just repeats the exact same question and Alpha's like, what? They're like, why do you want to do this? First of all, she never really does any field work, and the reason is due to the fact that as much magical energy as Gamma has, and as intelligent as she is, she's extremely clumsy, and this means she has absolutely zero fighting capabilities. Even with all this in mind, Alpha decides to humor her and lets Gamma go as long as she brings two assistants with her to make sure that they get rid of the intruders. And this makes out to be an awesome sequence because not only do we actually get to see Gamma do something, but we get to see her mess up a lot while doing something. So the battle begins, and the two Shadow Guard members definitely have no problem handling their people because they actually have fighting capabilities. But Gamma's the only one struggling and messing up because of the fact that, again, she's extremely clumsy. And it plays out to be comedical because in Gamma's eyes, she's like, oh my god, this guy is the master of a fencing technique. But even though I know this information, now I can take care of you. I know what to do. And Gamma starts thrusting towards him, hitting thin air, missing every single strike, even though her blade is super overpowered. It looks like a lightsaber because of how much magical energy she can put into it. But it doesn't matter if you can't hit your opponent. And she chalks this up to her opponent just simply being extremely skillful, even though the entire time it's simply due to the fact that she's so clumsy that she can't hit a target right in front of her. And that's something else that I think the Eminence of Shadow does pretty well. Like, starting off with the beginning of the episode, we see them do this thing that they always do with the interaction with Alpha and Gamma, where characters will request things and other characters will completely ignore them, and it's a trope at this point. And then they'll replay the exact same sequence and have them say it again. And it's to the point where sometimes I feel like I hit the back button by accident and I rewinded it by a few seconds, and I absolutely love it. And the second comedic trope is the fact that characters are unbelievably unself-aware of their own capabilities and the capabilities of those around them. And the perfect example to show this feat is in the fight with Gamma. She actually gets attacked by the guy. I figured like everybody else she would dodge out of the way, but she was completely unaware of his presence and he actually landed a hit. But her head is literally so hard that it did nothing. This guy karate chopped her as hard as he could with a killing blow, and it did nothing but hurt her head a bit. And it was so stupid. You can't help but laugh at how they set up some of these characters and the tropes that they follow with. And it's not something that's over comedic, it's just absolutely goofy. And that's not the first and only time it happens throughout the fight either. The guy finally realizes that Gamma's actually stronger than she realizes, but he's not going to stick around and wait for her to actually land a lucky hit. So now he's decided to, alright, let me take care of this lady. He finally gets serious. He decides to land another finishing blow to finally put all his power into this attack, and then he manages somehow to hit her head again. And it's just like, ow, my head hurts. What the hell is wrong with you? It's so stupid because he's trying to kill her and it's nothing more than a bad headache for her. Gamma does finally manage to kill him, though, by accident, mind you, by tripping on a rock and throwing her overpowered blade, which explodes on him. But that basically wraps up that section of the episode, which was a pretty good way to start off this episode. And after this, we see Alexia training with Cid, in which he's still pretending to be this background character that is easily disarmed with simple sword practice, and she's not too pleased. But unknowing to her, him being Shadow is the exact same reason why she's trying so hard to protect herself and everyone around her. So he's kind of the motivation behind her getting stronger, which he himself notes that she actually has gotten more powerful. After Cid finishes training with Alexia, he goes as his second persona, John Smith, at a noodle shop to get confirmation from his benefactor on whether or not the counterfeit Bill's plan is actually working, which it is. He's super excited about it, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen next as well. So he goes to meet up to see what's going on. And this is where the second episode trope starts, where absolutely nobody can figure out which bills are right and which bills are wrong because they are so well done that not even Cid can tell apart the bills, and neither can anyone else for that matter. They know it's counterfeit, but they can't tell which one is the original once compared side by side. The first first time we see this is when Cid sits aside from Yukime, and they're sitting there having a conversation about the counterfeit bills, and she asks how good are the quality based on his standards. And once the question comes about on which one is the real bill, they both come up with different answers. Cid says it's the right bill, and Yukime says it's the left one. We get this hilarious long ass pause where they both just sit there wondering what the hell is going on. But the fact of the matter is, the counterfeit bills look better than the originals because of the fresh print quality, and the old bills look like counterfeits, and that's mixing everybody up. We also see the Cult of Diablos do the exact same thing later on when they report the counterfeit bills are starting to be populated through the currency. The commander asks which ones are real, and he's like, oh right, of course. And that's literally the trope for the rest of the episode. The counterfeit bills get reported, and people are trying to figure out which ones are the real ones and which ones are the fake ones. I think Yukime might have done too good of a job on that. But since everybody's starting to finally discover that counterfeit bills are starting to be populated in the currency, that also means Shadow Garden has to do something about it. So Alpha sends out Rose's squad to take care of the mess, and they actually run into Cid himself. Cid is guarding the cargo, obviously, for the counterfeit bills since he's working against Shadow Garden undercover, and he easily takes care of Rose. He takes care of the other two members as well, and it was pretty cool to see him use his new technique, which I was pretty excited to see animated. He doesn't use his sword, he doesn't even use atomic, he uses these magical threads, I'm assuming that are made out of slime, to use to restrict people, and it's probably most likely effective in this due to the fact that he's not looking to kill anybody in Shadow Garden. He's simply trying to move them out the way. He knows he's stronger, but he doesn't want to actually harm them, and the best, probably most practical way for him is to use these magical threads, which he takes care of them with absolute ease. It was pretty cool to see. And now that we had better lighting, not only do we get to see Cid, aka John Smith, not in the dark sitting in the train like last episode, but we also finally have an opportunity for me to get a better thumbnail since the lighting in this episode was pretty good, and we get to see what John Smith looks like. Since John Smith let them go though, now they're going to report back to Shadow Garden, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see what's going to happen after that, since Cid now is most likely going to have to fight various members of Shadow Garden and try not to hurt them in the best way that he can while maintaining his operation. So the next episode is going to be very interesting to see what they're going to do with that. I'm not certain myself, but no spoilers in the comments down below. But what do you guys think will happen? If you do know, just don't spoil. But I'm curious for your thoughts as always. But that's pretty much the gist of the episode. It was definitely one of the best episodes so far, and I definitely can't wait to see what they do with the next episode with John Smith versus Shadow Garden. I know it's coming up, and I can't wait to see who they send after him next. Appreciate you guys for watching. This has been the Eminence Shadow episode 5 review, and we all know the next episode is gonna be atomic.